Hi, I'm Skip Nipper. Welcome to Skip's Corner, the podcast where I tell you about not only Nashville's great baseball history and traditions,
shot to right, a one-hop liner,
but certainly about its past. And you will hear a little bit about its present and future, too.
Yes, he can, and makes the waist-high catch.
There are great stories about Tom Wilson Park, Herschel Greer Stadium, Sulphur Dell, and the players, coaches, and fans who love everything about baseball. And every once in a while, you will get to hear from a special guest who will share their fondness and even passion for the great game.
It's a high fly ball down the right field corner, going way back, hits a lead-off home run.
Well, the results are in. This project began in September when I asked fans to cast a vote for their favorite players who wore a Nashville Vols uniform beginning in 1950. The team was non-existent in 1962 and closed up shop in 1963 before professional baseball came back with the Nashville Sounds beginning in 1978. And if you cast a ballot, thank you, because some of the voting was very, very close, and even until the end of the voting period, December the 31st, there were no clear choices until the final day. Now, the intent was to add players from really a forgotten era, not so much for fans my age or a little older or younger that may have seen a game during the 50s and early 60s at Sulphur Dell, but Nashville Banner sports editor Fred Russell had published a list of players from two periods as Nashville Vols Hall of Famers, and those encompassed the periods 1901 to 1925 and 1926 to 1949. And I just didn't think we could leave out players who called Sulphur Dell their baseball home while wearing the colors of the Nashville Vols beginning in 1950 until it went out of business. Qualifications included any fielder who played a minimum of 100 games at his position and any pitcher with at least as many innings as his team's games during the Vols season in the year in which he pitched. So, without further ado, these are the players in the 2024 Nashville Vols Modern Day Hall of Fame class for 1950 through 1961 and 1963. At catcher, he was a good one. John Edwards. John Alban Edwards was born June the 10th in 1938, and he played as a catcher in Major League Baseball for the Reds, the Cardinals, and the Houston Astros before he ended his career in 1974. But his only season in Nashville was 1960, when he appeared in 136 games for the Vols. And that year, at the beginning of the season, on April the 17th, this $70,000 bonus catcher slammed 2 homers and a single in 4 plate appearances to lead the Vols over Memphis 12-5 in the first game of a doubleheader. And a couple of months later, on June the 15th of 1960, Jim Maloney pitched Nashville to a 6-4 victory in Birmingham, holding the Barons to 8 hits and striking out 12, while his catcher, Johnny Edwards, sealed the deal with a 3-run homer. And during his 1960 season, Johnny Edwards had 128 hits, 14 homers, 70 RBIs, and a .293 batting average. He only made 18 errors during the season. Now, first base was a pretty close one, but in the end, it was Charles Edward Chuck Coles who won the balloting. He was born in 1931. He passed away in 1996, and his career began in the Brooklyn Dodgers organization, interrupted by military service in 1953 and 1954. But he played 2 seasons in Nashville at first and in the outfield a little bit. But in 1958, he led the Southern Association in runs batted in and was selected the Southern Association's All-Star first baseman. That season, on May the 21st, in the first game of a doubleheader, Nashville's bespectacled Coles became only the second player in league history with 3 home runs in a 7-inning game as the Vols beat Birmingham 8-3 at Rickwood Field. And all 3 home runs were hit off Barons pitcher Ron Rosman. And in his last at bat, Coles hit a single, driving in 7 of the 8 Nashville runs. Now, he did return to Nashville in 1960 before he retired, but in 1958, that special season, he had 176 hits, 29 homers, 107 RBIs, and hit for a .307 batting average and only made 13 errors in the field. At second base, fan favorite Charlie Williams. Charles Williams was born in 1928, passed away in 1990, but he was born in Dyersburg, Tennessee, and he spent 14 seasons in the minor leagues, beginning in 1946. And after 3 seasons with Atlanta, also in the Southern Association during 1951, 52, and 1953, he joined Nashville in 1954, where he remained for another 3 seasons. And in 1955, he had a special season when he was the Vols' second baseman that won the Southern Association batting title, his best season of his career, and led the league in hits and doubles with 44. And on that season, he had 211 hits, 10 homers, 70 RBIs, but a great .368 batting average. And he only made 16 errors at second base that season. At shortstop, we have Phil Schartzer. Philip E. Phil Schartzer was born in 1935. He passed away a few years ago in 2014. Was born in Louisville and graduated from DuPont Manual High School. He began his professional career in 1954 and became a member of the Nashville Vols in 1957, and after 1 season moved up to Seattle for 1 more year before returning to Nashville for 3 more seasons in 1959, 1960, and 1961. And he played his final season in 1962 with Oklahoma City before retiring. Now, he had some great seasons, especially in 1957 when he had 138 hits, 4 homers, 78 RBIs, and a .261 batting average. But he only committed 14 errors. And in 1959 and 1961, he also batted .254 and .286. At third base, we have a favorite player of many people. That's Thomas Michael Tommy Buckshot Brown. Tommy Brown is still living, lives in Florida. He was born December the 6th, 1927, and he's one of the few remaining players who played for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And his claim to fame is he made his major league debut with his hometown Brooklyn Dodgers at the age of 16 years and 241 days old when he started at shortstop at Ebbets Field against the Cubs on August the 3rd, 1944. And in a game against the Pittsburgh Pirates on August the 20th, 1945, he became the youngest player in Major League Baseball history to hit a homer, a record that still stands. And he was 17 years and 257 days old at the time. Now, in all, he spent 9 years in the majors and 8 seasons in the minors, including 3 years in Nashville. And his first Vols season was in 1955. In fact, on June the 5th that year, that was the first game he played for Nashville. And he had just been acquired from the Los Angeles team of the Pacific Coast League, and his flight from the West Coast was delayed for 7 hours due to weather conditions at the Fort Worth airport. And arriving in Nashville that morning at 6:30 a.m., and with only a few hours of sleep, the 6'1", 170-pound third baseman had 2 singles, was hit by a pitch, walked once, and started 3 double plays. He held down third base for 94 games, but for the next 2 years was a solid third baseman for the ball club before he was traded to Chattanooga. And after one final season in 1959, he split his time between Chattanooga and New Orleans and retired to Nashville. Now, his 1955 season with 94 games did not count for him being included in this voting, but in 1956 and 1957, those seasons were great years. In 1956, he had 148 hits, 10 homers, 85 RBIs, and a .316 batting average. Now, in the outfield, there are three choices, and the outstanding choice with the most votes of any position, it was an easy choice, was Bob Lennon. Robert Albert Bob Lennon was born September the 15th, 1928, and he died June the 14th in 2005. He was also nicknamed Archie and was born in Brooklyn. And although he struggled at the major league level on 3 different trials during the mid-1950s, he was a prolific home run hitter in minor league baseball in a 16-year career. So this is what makes Bob Lennon so special, the name that people remember because of his outstanding season in 1954. He won the Southern Association Triple Crown, and he led the leagues in runs scored with 139 on 210 hits, and then he had an amazing 64 home runs, 161 RBIs, a .345 batting average. Those totals gave him that Triple Crown for the Southern Association, and he was named the most valuable player. Now, as a minor leaguer, he batted .281 in 1,784 games and had 1,699 hits and 1,067 RBIs to go with his 278 four-baggers. Now, he never made it in the majors. He only hit about 7 home runs, 9 maybe, I think, between the Giants and the Cubs. But he was a great player in Nashville. So in that 1954 season, while also playing the outfield, he had 433 chances, and he only committed 18 errors. But boy, he had an offensive year that year, 1954. It was never matched, I don't believe, in the entire existence of the Southern Association. Next in the outfield, we have Bama Ray. Charlie Bama Ray was born in 1920, passed away in 2004, was born in Jemison, Alabama. And he was a member of the Nashville Vols for 4 seasons, actually beginning in 1949. And his best season was in 1951 when he hit for a .338 batting average. Now, he played 14 seasons in the minors, beginning in 1939, and retired after a final season with Augusta in the South Atlantic League, the Sally League, in 1953. But here are his stats for those 3 years for which he qualified. In 1950, 124 hits, 10 home runs, a .289 batting average. In 1951, 187 hits, 18 home runs, 83 RBIs, and a .338 batting average. And in 1952, 159 hits, 18 home runs again, 70 RBIs, and a .303 batting average. But if you can believe it, in the outfield in those 3 seasons, 1950, he had 3 errors. 1951, he had 14 errors. In 1952, he had 9 errors. Would you call him a defensive outfielder? Well, I would. Now, the other outfielder, this was a close vote, too. Drew Edward Buddy Gilbert, born July the 26th, 1935. Old Buddy Gilbert still lives in Knoxville, where he was born. He attended Knoxville's Central High School and the University of Tennessee and signed with Cincinnati in 1954, playing in 8 seasons in the Reds farm system through 1961. He played 3 seasons with Nashville, and he led the league in 1958 with 118 walks, but also with 128 strikeouts, and strikeouts in 1959 with 123. And after retiring from baseball, Gilbert launched a successful banking and real estate career in his hometown, and he's a member of the Greater Knoxville Sports Hall of Fame. Now, in 1958, he had 27 homers. 1959, he had 24. In 1961, he had 15. Good-looking guy, and everybody loved Buddy Gilbert. At the utility position, we have Harold McMillan Buster Boguski. He was born in 1923, and he passed away on June the 16th, 2001. Everybody loved Buster Boguski, too. He was born in Nashville, where he attended Cumberland High School, and served as a charter member of the Metro Nashville City Council from 1963 to 1995 after he retired. And many people remember him for that political career. But after serving in the military during World War II, his baseball career began in 1946 with Hopkinsville in the Kitty League, and he played with Nashville, if you can believe it, for 8 seasons. In 1954, he played second base, shortstop, and third base as a utility infielder for manager Hugh Poland's ball club. And after retiring, he sold sporting goods in the Nashville area. But everybody loved Buster Boguski. He didn't have many seasons where he played over 100 games, but that one year, 1954, he did. In that season, he had 95 hits, 13 home runs, 39 RBIs, and a .270 batting average, only giving up 15 errors. He could play anything. Now we move to the pitcher's position, left-handed pitchers, the southpaws. Easy choice was Jim O'Toole, James Jerome Jim O'Toole. Born in 1937, passed away in 2015, he played in Major League Baseball for the Reds and Chicago White Sox during his 10-year career. And in his only season with Nashville, in 1958, he led the league in wins, complete games, innings pitched, bases on balls with 132, and strikeouts. And on May the 3rd, with 2 strikes, 1 ball, and 2 outs in the 9th inning, Little Rock's Harry Elliott hit a single off the screen in right field and spoiled a no-hit, no-run game by Nashville lefty Jim O'Toole, and it would have been the first such feat at Sulphurdale in over 30 years. And then on June the 24th, just a month later, he pitched a 14-inning complete game win over Memphis, 3-2. And on August the 5th, became the league's first 17-game winner of the season with his 4-3 win over New Orleans. He was called up to the Reds after the Vols season ended and played in Cincinnati, and then retired in 1967. Now, he pitched 35 games in 1958. He had a 20-8 record, a 4.50 ERA, 21 complete games, 4 shutouts in 280 innings, and 189 strikeouts. And the other left-handed pitcher is Robert Duffy Bob Schultz. He was born in 1923 and passed away in 1979. He was born in Louisville, Kentucky, and came to the major leagues at age 27 after posting seasons of 20, 16, and 25 victories in minor league baseball. And in the minors, he posted a 128-99 record in 345 games, including the 1950 season with Nashville, when he had the best season percentage of .807. And he led the leagues in games pitched, complete games, and shutouts. And he was 18-11 with New Orleans in 1954 before retiring after the 1956 season with Chattanooga and again with Nashville. And he settled in Nashville and became a house painter and continued to play semi-professional baseball too. But in 1950, he pitched in 51 games, was 25-6, had a 2.68 ERA, tossed 19 complete games, 5 of them were shutouts. In 222 innings, he struck out 202. That was quite an accomplishment in 1950. And there are 2 right-handed pitchers. One of them is an easy choice. James William Jim Maloney was born June the 2nd in 1940, and I think he still lives in California. He played for the Cincinnati Reds from 1960 to 1970 and the California Angels in 1971. And after his first season in 1959 with Wichita, this $108,000 bonus baby spent most of 1960 with Nashville, where he led the league in winning percentage at .737 before being called up to the Reds on July the 22nd. Now, that was his farewell appearance in a Nashville uniform when he limited Little Rock to 3 hits in 6 innings, but the game was called in the 7th due to rain with the score 0-0. And he would join the Major League Club on July the 25th in Chicago. Now, he ended his Vols career with a 14-5 record, 164 strikeouts in 161 innings, and a 2.84 ERA. Now, he pitched 22 games, and he had 164 strikeouts, and I think that's just amazing. And lastly, John Elvin Jack Harshman. He pitched for the New York Giants, the Chicago White Sox, the Baltimore Orioles, the Boston Red Sox, and the Cleveland Indians between 1948 and 1960. But in 1951, while Harshman was leading the league in walks with 107 and strikeouts with 108, he took the home run crown with 47. Now, he was playing first base in 1951. And Nashville general manager Larry Gilbert experimented with Harshman potentially being a pitcher, letting him take the mound in 5 games. But 1953 was Harshman's breakout year as a full-time pitcher when he returned to the Southern Association Nashville Volunteers and led the league with a .767 winning percentage, games started at 34, complete games, and also led with 116 walks. So here are the stats on him that season, Harshman's stats in 1953. He pitched in 40 games, of which 17 were complete games. He finished the season 23-7 with a 3.27 ERA. He had 2 shutouts in 233 innings. He had 117 strikeouts. Well, there you have it. That's the lineup for the new Hall of Fame for the 2024 class. I hope we'll be able to do it again during this season and include some of those players who didn't quite make it on the voting totals, but who deserve to be in a Hall of Fame of their own. Now, you can go back and look in some of my previous posts about Fred Russell's Hall of Fame for the Nashville Vols, but pretty soon I'll publish another one that will give you the entire rundown. I'll either publish it on baseballinnashville.com or here on my podcast. I don't want to take up too much time on the podcast, but we'll at least come up with some way to figure in all the players who have been chosen for Nashville Vols Baseball Hall of Fame. Once again, thank you if you cast a vote. And as always, thanks for listening.